Hello and welcome everyone and welcome to this interesting course of ROS. In previous video I have welcomed you all in this course and this is going to be the module number 1 and lesson number 1. In this course, in this lesson, we will learn about what is ROS and why we use it. So without further ado, let's start the video. So this is going to be the lesson number 1 of module number 1, and in this video we will learn what is ROS and why we use it. Why don't we use traditional programming language instead of ROS? So let's begin today's video. So what is a robot? So as you have seen so many movies, there are so many robots like Terminator, yeah, and it's all fictional thing, but in real life robots are, you might have seen the IPL robot too, right? So how does it move? It has so many motors, it has so many sensors, and what is like how you are going to use them? It's quite complicated. You have to use programming and you have to use a lot of calculation before making it work. But not with ROS. ROS is making it very easy. Let's see how. So a robot is far more than motors and metal. So if you think like a robot, what is a robot doing? It's doing the intelligent tasks. It is doing intelligent tasks like sorting Amazon facility packages. Right? Amazon use so many robots. Amazon is also having a different child company called Amazon Robotics. We will talk about it later. So a robot is far more than motors. It's more than metal. It's an integrated system where the sensors perceive, controllers decide, and actuators respond. Each component must work in perfect harmony. So it's all about harmony. How are you going to integrate every system into single one, right? How are you going to make them communicate with each other? How the sensors are going to communicate with each other? How the robot is going to take decisions intelligently like a human? So that's where the ROS comes in. So let's talk about the problem. So there is a big problem in developing RO robots. So what is the problem? Let's talk about the problem first. What is the problem? Let's see. So the problem is, how do robots part communicate each other, right? There are so many parts. How are you going to connect them all? How are you going to process the data? While you will have so many trouble while you just use programming language and you just make them communicate. It's not possible. The sensors send data. There are so many sensors in your robot, right? Sensors send data, motors need command, AI will make decisions. So you might think about like how the AI is going to be implemented in such robot or such systems. Without a common language, building robots become a tangled mess of custom protocols and incompatible systems, making development slow, error prone, and difficult to scale. Now just think of it. You make a robot and you spend half of the year just programming one sensor. It will just be a wastage of total time. So to deal with this, we use ROS. The solution is ROS. There are so many sensors, so many motors, so many actuators. So what are you doing? So what you have to do is just create ROS nodes. What are the nodes? We will talk about them later. But ROS is a flexible framework for a robot. By this, what you understand? Flexible for framework, which means you can integrate so many different modules, so many different sensors, so many different systems. Software development that provides the tools, libraries, and conventions to create complex robot behaviors. So imagine it. The ROS is just providing you the backbone of robot, which means you just have to create the different modules and you just have to create them. You just have to integrate them with each other. It acts as a universal translator, connecting sensors, controllers, AI systems, actuators through a standard communication architecture. Now think of it as a table where so many different people are sitting there, and and each person is from a different country, and they all can't speak and they can't understand each other's language. That's why we use English. We use English universally. We use English to understand what is the other country people are saying. If they all speak their native language, then the communication is going to be very difficult. If a Chinese person come, or if I go to a Chinese person, if I go to a Chinese restaurant, and if I want to eat something but I don't know how to speak Chinese, how can I tell them what I want to eat, what I want to order? That's a mess. That's why we use English universally. So same as the robotics, in robotic development we use ROS. So I'm using English as my universal language. Why? Why am I using English? Because many people from other countries can't speak Hindi, but they can speak English, and I can't speak multiple languages, but I can only speak English. So the English is very common in whole the world, in around the world. So that's why we use English. Okay, so think of it as a common language for every robot, every node, every development module, so they can communicate with each other the easy way. So they can communicate with each other in a very easy way. Now, so what ROS provides us is unified communication, which means there are multiple nodes, multiple systems. They are just talking with each other in English or robot operating system language. So that's the most important point why we use ROS. And then there is a rich ecosystem which provides us very so many useful tools, like you can simulate it using Gizmo. There are so many tools for simulation. And then there is a modular architecture. What do you mean by modular? Now think of it as a modular laptop. In this laptop you can swipe each part, like you can switch the processor, you can switch the RAM, and you can like upgrade it, downgrade it, and you can do so many things with this. So this is called being modular, which means you can use multiple systems, and you won't have any trouble regarding the communication between them. Like, interesting, right? So there's a Arduino development kit, if you know Arduino, which use so many sensors. You can connect so many sensors. It's all modular. You just have to connect them. You just have to know some programming stuff, and you can just use them. So this is called being modular, which means you can connect and implement so many other systems. Now, there is a global community of this ROS. So what do you mean by global community? If you have worked on Arduino, you might know about what is community, what community means, which means there are so many interested people in this ROS field or robotics field who are working on ROS already, and they will have so many experience regarding the ROS, and you can just talk with them. You can just search the community forum, and then there are community forum online, so you can just check it out and you can find so many interesting things. Now let's go to the next slide. So what is a ROS actually? So ROS means a robot operating system, but it's not quite like a Windows or Linux operating system that you use, or the one I'm using right now. But instead of being a actual operating system, it runs on top of Linux, but it doesn't work on Windows. You can use them, there are so many tricks, but Linux is the more superior, and you will have more freedom on it. So we use Ubuntu 22.04, which I will tell you how to install, and we will learn in upcoming videos like how you can install Linux. Now, ROS operates as meta operating system, a layer above Linux that provide robotic specific functionality, which means the Linux is running the operating system. The ROS is just like acting like a mediator between the robot and your Linux operating system, like a PC which is going to be running Linux, or it can be a Raspberry Pi also. Okay, so let's talk about the ROS architecture. There are so many different systems. Like, you might have studied of computer architecture, then you might have studied of network architecture. Now let's study about ROS architecture. What is ROS architecture? So let's see. At its core, ROS uses a distributed computer architecture based on three fundamental concepts. First is node, topic, and messages. So let's talk about nodes first. So think of nodes as two persons, person number one and person number two. Now, let's talk about the topics. The topic is going to be, if it's Indian, then it's going to be a politics, like, or then there is going to be another topic like, what did you eat in this morning? And then there's going to be messages. So, person number one and person number two are going to communicate with each other regarding a topic. And then they are going to share data, like think of it as a topic, anything like what did you eat, it's going to be a topic, and then the communication is going to be established, and one is saying I ate this, I ate this. So this is called message, like transmitting the data. And what is a message? It's going to be in form of data packets. What is a data packet? So the digital communication include data packets. Data is going to be transmitted in form of packets. Now, what is a topic? Named communication channels where the nodes are publishing and subscribing to the message. There are two persons. So one is going to be a publisher, another is going to be a subscriber. So by the name of it, you might have already guessed what is going to be publisher is doing. Publisher is going to publish some messages, like it's going to be a transmitter, and subscriber node is going to receive it and then process it further. Example. Let's talk about example first. So here we have example of a camera node which is going to publish some images, and then image is going to be a topic, right? Then there is going to be another node which is going to be a subscriber node, and then it will receive it, receive the message, and then it will do more image processing. So now why we use ROS? Why don't we use some, like, this all stuff can be processed and this can be designed by some programming language, and it can be done by like hard programming way, but why don't we do that? So let's understand this phenomena first. So why we use ROS? We use ROS because we have to process so much complicated stuff, like it can handle complex communication. ROS manages inter-process communication automatically, letting you focus on the robot behavior instead of networking code. So you don't have to code. That's it. You don't have to code because there's already other people are doing the code, and there's a lot of communities present which can give you the code online. You just have to just understand how the robot is going to behave under different scenarios. You don't have to focus on code, and you just have to like make the robot work. Now, there are so much easy debugging and testing. There are so many simulation tools. There are so many testing stuff tools that can help you to build and visualize the robot behaviors. The main and popular example is called Turtleboard. There are some other stuff like Gizbo. So we use them to simulate and understand the robotic behavior under some circumstances. Now, so let's talk about the third topic, reusable code. What do you mean by reusable code? A reusable code is a form of code which is already present and developed and being hard tested by other programmers or other robotic scientists. Now, let's take an example of our GitHub. On our GitHub, we have already made so many projects, and all projects are already tested. You don't have to spend time in like testing and doing hard work programming. It's already tested. You have to just to take it and then upload it to your work or your project. Now, the ROS is having massive ecosystem of open source packages. Means you rarely start from scratch, which means you don't have to spend time on like programming. There are so many people who have already programmed it for you, and you just take their experience and then implement in your project. Now, so it works for any robot. Like, what do you mean by working for any robot? So there are so many types of robot. There are robots which contains wheels. We call them wheeled robots, which means they are having two wheels or multiple wheels to like go forward and do basic kinematic stuff. Then there are some robots which look like humans. You might have seen the Tesla's Optimus robot. The Optimus robot is going to have some fingers, hands, legs, just like a human. So we call them humanoids. Therefore, we call them humanoids. And ROS adapts to virtually any robotic platform or application, which means you can make three-leg robot, four-leg robot, six-legged robot, and you can also make your quadcopters. There are going to be wheeled robots, which means basically you can basically deploy it to multiple robotic environments. So let's see some real world use cases. So if you have seen now, the class is going to be more interesting because we are more moving towards the fundamentals, and we are more going to technical way now. So let's see about real world use cases. ROS powers some most advanced robotic system across the industries from space exploration to warehouse automation. So let's talk about the real world use cases where we use ROS. So there are four videos that I have I have implemented in this slide, and there's a first robot which is called Atlas. Atlas, yes, it's called Atlas, and it's from Boston Dynamics. I think they are based in Australia, and they are developing such interesting robots since 40 years. And it can maneuver, like it can perform so many different stunts. I can't do such. And it's called Atlas, and it's using ROS. So there are so many sensors, and it's very complicated. Now there's a NASA. We know NASA, no introduction. Now they are using the ROS on their Perseverance robot. So how the robot is going to use ROS in such Martian condition? They are going to use it like mapping. So imagine this is ROS, this is the rover, and this is the destination where it has to go. So it will take some time. It will decide how to go there. Like it can't go like certain way because there are so many stones, the rough terrain, and there are so many chances that it might get stuck. So they use pre-planning. They will scan the area, and then they will decide the the most easy way to get there. So that's how the rover use ROS. Now there's Amazon Robotics that I have talked earlier. The Amazon Robotics is a child company of Amazon. They are also using the robots in their courier facilities. Like there are going to be so many packages. You have to do a lot of sorting, and then you have to do a lot of work to get your packages on right time and on right destination. So the robots are used there. Now there are so many self-driving cars nowadays, and it's going to be a trend, and this is the future. The future is here. This is the Tesla. I think Tesla Model B. They are also using ROS based system, not quite ROS, but it's similar to ROS. Now there is also a Chinese company called BYD. I think you can't see it, but there's a BYD, and it's you can see them on Indian roads nowadays. They are also using ROS. Now let's talk about the summary. The summary is ROS is acting as a nervous system of robots. If you want to make a robot which is intelligent, which is powerful, and which is going to do some certain tasks, you have to make it you have to make it using ROS. So ROS is acting as nervous system. What do you mean by nervous system? If you have studied biology, we have the nervous system which is connected to the brain, and our all organs are connected to it, right? So ROS is just acting as a nervous system of robot. Now, what it does is it connects all the hardware and software. It can scale complex systems, then it can help them communicate efficiently, and then this cycle goes on and on and on, and then the magic happens. Your robot works very well. Now let's meet in next session. That's it.